There we go. All right, it's 2 o'clock. We will call the meeting to order of the Cumberland County Board of Elections. And we'll begin with a roll call, please.
Commissioner Nieder.
Here.
Commissioner Fauci.
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
We will open the floor to public comment. If there's anyone online that would like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a public comment at this moment? Surprise! John Cobb, come on up.
Okay, well, I'm gonna walk up and give you some paperwork that I want to share. And I apologize, last meeting I wasn't well prepared. And today I'm on some medication that has me a little weirded out, so I apologize. So last week, well, here, let me finish this and then I'll stand in one spot. One for me. Thank you. So last week, I talked about the 2% recount and the ESS certifications. And obviously I didn't explain it clearly because the first go round, Commissioner Fauci, you said, can you repeat that? And then I repeated it. You said, thanks for repeating it, but that's not what you were looking for. We talked about, my belief is that the county is required, due to the certification of the equipment, to provide a 2% recount by hand, or the statutory statistical recount by hand. And the reason for that is not because of election statute 30317, which was brought up, because that says you can do it either by hand or by machine by a different format. However, 3031.5, which is the examination approval of electronic voting systems by the Secretary of the Commonwealth, which was attached to my email the other day, basically says, and very clearly says, that the county board shall comply, not maybe, not might, think about it. It says shall comply with the requirements for the use of the electronic voting system as set forth in the report by the Secretary of Commonwealth. So it's straightforward, it's not ambiguous, and it seems clear that it requires everyone, the county, to comply with whatever the certification says. As you go into the certification, there's 3 ES&S certification reports, all the way back to 2021, Secretary Bookvars, Secretary de Graff and Reed in 22, and then the last version was in 2023 by Secretary of State Chapman. All 3 say have the exact same sentence in the document, and that is, this audit, and they're speaking of the statistical recount, this audit must be, again, they're not mincing words, it's not a maybe, should be, must be conducted exclusively via a manual count of the voter marked paper ballots. Okay, so first we have statute that says you must follow the certification document, then the certification document says you must do the 2% recount. So I'd like to understand if there's a reason why we don't, right? Is there other statute? Is there other philosophy or documentation that would say, no, we're not going to do this because we don't have to, because we truly don't.
John, I'm not an attorney, but you said something that you said a statistical recount.
Yes.
If we are instructed by the Commonwealth to do the recount, it's my understanding that we do that in the manner prescribed, which is the manual recount. So I can't answer your questions as it relates to the law. I believe our solicitor is here and has answered that. But Jen, if
may I interrupt just for a second? Let me clarify. So as you read the statute on the 2% recount, which is commonly referred to as the 2% audit, it's also referred to as the statistical recount. So the statistical recount is the 2% recount, is the 2% audit. They're all the same thing. This is not the random the other audit that's not provided by statute, that's done randomly around the state.
is it the wish of the majority of the board to engage in like a question and answer session with Mr.
It's
Cobb
not my
now
wish.
doing? It's up, I work at the board's direction, so
Yeah,
please let me know how.
personally, that's not my wish. And
John, what group do you work with?
In this matter, I'm working with myself and the Cumberland County Election Integrity Group.
Because you ask questions that would require what I believe would be detailed legal analysis.
Mhm.
No one is prepared to do detailed legal analysis during public comment,
Sure.
right? I know that these questions have been answered over and over and over.
No, this has never been answered, Gene.
So, well, John, we're gonna have a disagreement of opinion on that. Okay, we're gonna agree to disagree on that. If you're serious and you want these questions
Very
answered,
serious.
then you have to represent that in a way that is something other than what you're doing today. Okay? We're not here to do question and answer during public comment, in my opinion. I don't even think that I personally am not even quite sure what you're asking for.
Well, I'd like to understand, actually, what I would like to know is why we're not providing a statistical recount by manual hand or based on the election code and the certification. And I think it's a fair question. And I did provide this previously via email. And I provided the backup documentation. And if you look on the second page, you'll see that I've got all the certification items from those 3 certifications that I referenced. And I sent the code via email.
I'm not an attorney, John. John, are you
Right.
an attorney?
No, I'm not, but I can read.
Well, me too.
Good.
But and now you're getting very hostile. with
No,
me,
I'm
which
just,
I
well, I'm
don't
on this
appreciate.
medication and it's got me.
So maybe this isn't the day for us to even have this conversation, right?
Well, can I have this conversation
You
during
just-
comment periods or may I not have this
Well,
comment?
I'm telling you that as one member of the board.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. I'm not in favor of this. There are 2 other members of this board that can override me,
Hmm.
right? It takes a majority of 3, but I'm not in favor of it. I think there are better ways to handle these things.
All right. Would you prefer, do you have a recommendation?
No, not at this point in time. Again, this is one of these things that just comes up in public comment. You have had years to prepare to do this,
Mhm.
right? Years to prepare whatever you've got. And I have not. I don't have I have not prepared for years to answer your question. So you just are gonna have to bide your time.
Sure. Well,
So, John, I have a suggestion. Gary, is there anything that you wanted to engage in this matter? So having not been on the board previously, I understand that the same question has been asked and the same question has been answered. However, I have not seen that in writing. I will ask if our solicitor at the appropriate time can provide you with a definitive answer from the board so that we can put this matter to rest if it has been asked and answered repeatedly. Is that possible?
That would be a function of the majority of the board, Kelly. If you would want the Board of Elections to engage in a back and forth in writing with anyone.
No, I just want, I guess what I'm asking is so that I keep being told that we've answered his question, we've answered the question, but I haven't seen that necessarily. I believe he's making a request within 5 days. I'm not going to entertain back and forth on matters that I am not familiar. So if we have supplied him that previously, if I could just get a copy of that and we could resupply it to him, or has it been verbally discussed?
I don't recall, because Mr. Cobb has been coming to the Board of Elections meetings for a couple of years now, and I just don't recall what's been provided to him in email or other forms of writing or not. I know that at your last meeting, we did have a back and forth during the public comment session. He's represented that he was dissatisfied with that answer. I mean, that's my knowledge of it, Kelly.
And I'm not in a position to give a legal opinion on that answer related to the question at hand. So,
I'd be satisfied if you would review it and provide a written reply when an understanding is created. And this is different. Before all I did was ask to say, hey, would you be willing to do a 2% recount? That's all that was. This is new information, recently found information. I didn't know this was there until I was browsing the world and found that it appears to me that it's a requirement based on statute. This is and the certification of the equipment. This is brand new, just figured it out a couple of weeks ago.
I feel like this is the same information we saw last week.
Yes,
But I
it is.
haven't, so to say that it's brand new, I of course haven't seen it.
Okay, we'll take that under advisement and have a discussion about that.
All right. I have a second topic, not wanting to belabor your good graces. Would you prefer that I send it via email first? Would that be, or would you prefer that I send it via written letter? I want to be effective with your time, and I'd like to be effective with the discussion, but I want to be respectful of you.
Yeah, it's my preference that the email be sent to our solicitor.
Okay. I will. And so Jean, that would go to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and if you look on the county's website, there's a general solicitor at cumberlandcountypa.gov email that you can use, John.
All right, then I'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, it just seems to me that at this point in time, if you really want the answers to, I mean, you come all the time, you have a different question every time. If I were you and I really wanted the answers to these questions in a very quick way, and you wanted to be firm because you came in what you understand, because you came in here today and you said two things. You said, I wasn't prepared the last time, and today you said, I'm on medication, I'm not quite okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that it's appropriate to come to the county solicitor and ask her to be doing personal legal work for you, which is what this is starting to smell like. If you are really interested in an answer, I think we've got to go back to all of the prior answers that were given and look at them and see, is this indeed a new question? And what really is going on here? Because that is not an appropriate use of the assistant solicitor or the Board of Elections solicitor. Certainly, we are transparent in what we do. And we want to make sure that the public is, as you have said, and John, you said you're just here personally today, you're not here with a group.
Well, with the election integrity task.
So that is your group, the
Cumberland
election
County, yes,
integrity
right.
task force. Okay. And are you associated with any other group?
Informally.
And what's the other group?
Well, I'm part of the Republican committee. I'm a committee person.
Are you associated with any other election group?
I'm affiliated with PA for Elections, Audit the Vote. 3 or 4 others.
Okay.
But mostly those organizations are Telegram chat groups. They're not
Here's what has me
organizations.
concerned.
Yes.
This is what has me concerned as a member of the Board of Elections, who is charged with delivering a fair, accurate, and reliable election. Everything that I have read in the news, everything that I have listened to via podcast, there is a concerted effort to cause utter chaos in this year's election by tripping up, by tangling up our Bureau of Elections, solicitors that work for county government. And I am here to tell you that we're transparent and we will help you, but I am personally not in favor of causing chaos at the Bureau of Elections.
I agree with
repeated-
you
A
1000%.
of, I need new information, I want new information, I want this rephrased. I'm gonna come and ask you the same question in a different way. I don't like it, John. I don't like it. I'm telling you that flat out, I don't like it.
My objective,
We have been very open and transparent with you. Very open.
I would disagree. If you'd like, I can enumerate
I would love that.
right now.
Not right now, but you could please put that in writing for me. I would love that.
I'd be happy.
That is a complete concern to me if we have not been open and transparent to you.
I'd be pleased to.
Thank you.
All right, but let me respond. Absolutely. The intent is never not to trip up, to convolute the Bureau of Elections, to make things difficult. It is to identify, my objective is to identify those items which appear to be holes, flaws, errors in either the process or the methodology, methodology or the results of what's occurring within Cumberland County.
So, and
I'm
I've
working to
told you
be
so many
helpful,
times,
helpful,
if you
not
have a
negative.
problem with the process, that is election code, and you go and see Rep. Gleim about that. That's where you go, because the state controls the election code. We do not.
Yes, and that's why my concern is adherence to the election code.
And you keep coming here and telling us what a great job the Bureau of Elections does, how we deliver a fair, accurate, and reliable election.
Mhm.
So I am befuddled by the line you walk.
I give credit where credit is due. I don't give accolades that are empty. So when I say that Bethany did a terrific job on the mail ballot review of the last of the primary, she did. It's a terrific process that echoes the exact same thing that I saw in November of 23.
John, I'm gonna end.
No issue with that.
Because we've got a lot to do,
Yeah,
but I'm
ready
gonna
to
end
sit
with
down.
this.
Mhm.
Election personnel, directors of election across this state quit. They leave because the situation becomes unbearable. Because of questioning, because of harassment, because they are afraid. This commissioner, I'm not playing. That's
Neither
not
am
gonna
I.
happen.
I am not trying to
It's not gonna
intimidate,
happen.
scare, confuse, or disturb anyone. As an example, during the my lawful viewing of the mail ballot items, I was asked to sit quietly in a chair. I sat quietly in a chair. I didn't disturb. I didn't jump around. I didn't make comments. I didn't do anything other than what was exactly asked of me.
Right, so you behaved as a normal human.
Because I am a normal human.
Right,
I'm not trying to
so-
destroy the world. I'm trying to help to
And
create a
you've gotta-
better world.
Put in writing the things that you want and you deliver them to me. And you deliver them to the whole board and we'll look at them. I am telling you, we are headed to a general election.
We are.
The voters of this county are very important. The people that work for me, that work for us are very important.
Agree.
Okay, I'm not putting them at risk. I'm not putting them in
Please.
jeopardy.
Mhm.
I'm not playing a game,
Neither am I.
right? Elections are not games.
I could not agree with
Okay.
you more. We are
I'm
on the
glad we're in
same.
agreement on that.
We're on the same page, Gene, truly. I'm not trying to be a rabble rouser, a problem creator. I'm trying to bring to light issues as I see them to be and try to find a way to bring them to you because I don't know how else to bring them to you. If I were to send them to email, their emails apparently are ignored most of the time. So
And-
I presume because
I
I never
don't
see
know.
a response. So what other venue do I really have other than to perhaps, I don't know, pursue legal remedy? Oh boy, let me really screw up the county and you know, well, I apologize for even bringing up the word legal because that is certainly nothing that I'm interested in going down. All I wanted to do is help identify issues. Last year, we talked about the 375 voters at Dickinson, the registrations where they were supposed to have been removed, well, where they were no longer students and some went back to the 80s. I was told you can't, well, I can resuscitate the list. At that point in time, I was told that the Bureau could do nothing about it.
And why, John? Because of the law.
Yes,
Yes, so guess where you need to go have this conversation at? Representative Barb Lime's office. Because she writes the law.
right, so
I don't, this board does not, we're not a legislative board. You and I
not looking
talked
for
about that
legislate.
2 years ago.
I'm not looking for legislative change. I'm trying to just, how would I know? How would I as a citizen possibly know that the Bureau of Elections cannot remove people that no longer resided at an address? And that if I were to provide it to them, that they could take no action? How would I know that
Because you
unless I
listen to
create a
me.
list and I bring it to you?
Well, that's fine, but you also know how, I mean, you just told me you know how to read, you read election code, and you were given that answer. You were given the answers to why that exists. You were given the answers to why that
That
happens.
you were unable to correct it. Yes, I did. And then also I read election code and it said that their section 1329 allows a person to challenge individuals that are no longer at a certain address. So I said, well, I'm going to follow the election code. And so I did follow the election code. I submitted that. I received a letter back that said, John, you can't, since you're not a resident of Carlisle, you can't use section 1329. And I said, all right. So obviously, based on the email that was given to me, it's like, well, I guess someone who lives in Carlisle can submit it. And so then I found someone from Carlisle that can submit it. Now, this is not to create havoc within the Bureau of Election. It's to get people that no longer live at the university off the voter registration rolls. That's not havoc. That's trying to make a difference, to help you to do your job. It's like, geez, you can't do it like this. Statute says you can. Let me submit it. Sorry, John, you can't do that. You have to do it 13. You have to do it differently. Well, here it is. I'm not trying to create problems. I'm trying to solve problems.
Okay, John, thank you. I
Thank
think
you
we
very
reached
much.
our time. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wanted to make a comment at this time? Yes, sir.
I'm Sam Milkus from North Middleton Township, and I'll be brief, but I just would reflect upon, I think, a very similar exchange 4 years ago at this time, and I think it was Mr. Cobb, and I made a suggestion then that the two major parties of Cumberland County, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, join in expressing confidence in the Board of Elections and its director in the conducting of elections in this county, because I think they are very well done. And I even hear Mr. Cobb say, compliment that process. So I'm certainly willing to go to the chair of the Democratic Party and seek that expression. And I hope Mr. Cobb says he's a member of the Republican Party. I hope that he will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, James Evans, Carlisle Borough. I'm observing all this, and it's what I said that what was 2 weeks ago, I think the 18th. So I'm looking everyone in the eye in this audience and sitting on this board. Whether you feel irritated by what Mr. Cobb is presenting or anybody else that's coming up here, regardless of your ideological beliefs in your party, this is representative government. You guys were elected by the people of Cumberland County to come for an answer. It's not run by lawyers or solicitors. There's legal matters, but it's run by the citizens, and you work for us at the end of the day. And if you cannot answer those questions, then put it in writing and say, we're not going to answer it. You're irritating. We don't want you here. Just be honest and be blunt. But this is an exchange between citizens and the elected government that are supposed to represent us. So I just want to make that clear, and I'll be here at every meeting to say that. I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. And there's people here that want to continue to do that. And if we're blind to the fact that there's people that want to destroy our country, regardless of who that is, external or internal, then you probably should resign from your office. And what people are trying to do, like Mr. Cobb and other people across this county, across the state, and across the country, is they're trying to use a quote from President Reagan: trust but verify. There's no reason to hide anything. When you have something hidden, there's most likely something not being done correctly. And that's all people want to do is say, let's open it up. We pay the taxes. We want to see what's going on. And if there's nothing, if everything's legit, then there's no harm, no foul. Just because the law says this doesn't mean that you can't say, okay, yeah, let's open up and look at it, as long as we don't violate any contracts or anything like that. So again, I'm not here to be angry. This is representative government. And if you feel uncomfortable, again, you should probably step down. You know, that's the point that I want to make, and I'll make every time that I come to this board meeting, because there's people out here that are struggling, that are upset, that don't have the time or the luxury to research what a lot of people here, like Mr. Cobb and others, want to do. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the agenda for the approval of the minutes of the meeting of April 18th.
Move to approve.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next up is the discussion and approval of action concerning the provisional ballots.
Yes, Commissioner, so you have in front of you the provisional ballot report. That shows that we had 130 provisional ballots, 114 I'm recommending fully count. Those were individuals who never turned in their mail-in ballot, so this was the way they chose to vote that day. 2 partially count, because I recommend that they partially count because they voted in a precinct other than where they're registered in Cumberland County. So those offices that match up, like statewide offices, those types of things would count. But if they're congressional districts or something like that didn't, we wouldn't count those. That's why they're called partially counted. And 14 rejected, some due to not being registered in Cumberland County at all, or being registered a party other than Republican or Democrat.
Thank you, and thank you for getting us the report ahead of time and answering the questions that I had related to that. I appreciate it. Anyone would like to make a motion?
Can I object? I was denied the ability to observe as a
There's a motion on the
authorized
table.
representative to observe the provisional ballot count as my right.
I don't believe there's a call for an objection. And I do believe that Ms. Salzarullo left a telephone message for Mr. Cobb on Friday morning to make arrangements to accommodate his request. I don't believe the telephone call was returned.
Thank you. So there's a motion on the table. Is it, or,
Is there a motion on the
I'm
table?
sorry, I thought there was a motion on the table. I will entertain a motion.
I'll move for the approval of actions concerning provisional ballots as outlined.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next up is the discussion and approval of the action concerning military and overseas ballots.
Yes, so military and overseas ballots are given additional time to be returned to our office. They do need to be postmarked the day before the election, but they have until the Tuesday after to be returned. So we did have one of those that fell into that category. So they have been added to all the results that you have there in front of you.
Thank you. Entertain a motion on the act.
I will move to approve the military and overseas ballots.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next up, the books.
Yes, so I will need your signature after the meeting. The books will go on display until our following meeting next week on Tuesday, when they will be certified. And those results include everything we've talked about here and you've approved.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion on that?
We lay the result books on display.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Last up.
So the Department of State would like us to submit the unofficial results today to them by 5 p.m. This is how they determine if a statewide automatic recount would be needed. So we should know after 5 p.m. today, although from what I can tell, it doesn't look like anything is within the 0.5% margin, which would trigger the automatic recount. But we do need to turn those in today. So I'll need your signature on those as well.
Okay.
I will move to submit the unofficial results to the Department of State.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And next, Bethany, any updates you'd like to give to the board?
Just a couple of quick things. One, just a reminder that at next week's meeting, we will be honoring the 50-year voters. So we have one so far that RSVP, they will be here. So we'll wait to see if we have the other, but that'll be at next week's meeting. So Samantha, could you make sure we can get pictures and all of that for the 50-year voters? Thank you. And also I want to report we had a very successful election day and night. Results were posted by 10:09 p.m., which was awesome. And the majority of the mail-in and absentee ballots were done by noon. So that was also great. And that was all thanks to all the county staff that comes and volunteers. We had over 100 people between early morning shift all the way to late night shift that helped us. So it was really a joint effort there. So it was great. So
It was a well-oiled machine on site at the Bureau of Elections. Any concerns on any of the polling places? Any difficulty that was experienced?
we had the usual campaigners outside kind of sometimes causing a ruckus or not letting voters in, or maybe, you know, having some issue trying to get through the line of campaigners outside, but we were able to deal with those and take care of them. Election day. Yeah.
Thank you. It looks like we have a request for executive session. But we will first go into any other business to come before the board. we will adjourn this meeting if someone would like to move. We'll stand adjourned and go into executive session.